So I've been spending some time just wandering through different open world games lately, and it made me think there are so many great ones out there right now that it's actually kind of hard to pick where to start. So I put together a list of 20 open world games you can play in 2025. Whether you're on PC, PS5 or Xbox, just games that feel nice to sink into, with big worlds, quiet moments, or just that feeling of getting lost somewhere interesting. Nothing rushed here, just a calm look at what's out there in case you're looking for something new or maybe even something you forgot about. Let's take our time with this one. Sometimes, when a game quietly hands you a moment of stillness in the middle of chaos, it stays with you. That's how Elden Ring felt to me the first time I stood alone on a cliff, watching the earth glow through the mist. There's this weight to the world that's hard to describe, like everything's ancient, broken, and beautiful all at once. You're not just running from quest to quest here, you're drifting through forgotten lands, piecing together your own story from ruins, whispers, and half-buried secrets. The way the world opens up without ever telling you what to do, it gives you this rare kind of freedom that's both overwhelming and strangely peaceful. One moment, you're wandering through sunlit fields with nothing but your horse and the wind, and the next you're crawling through a rotten catacomb filled with creatures you can't quite look at too long. The combat feels sharp and deliberate. But it's never just about swinging swords. It's about learning patience, feeling your surroundings, and sometimes knowing when to turn back. Even in the hardest places, there's always something quietly pulling you forward. A distant light, a crumbled tower on the horizon, the rustle of leaves before a storm. Elden Ring doesn't hold your hand, but it doesn't push you either. It simply waits softly, silently, until you're ready to discover what's waiting out there. There's something quietly moving about looking out the window of a ship and seeing a planet slowly come into view. No noise, no rush, just the vast stillness of space wrapping around you. That's what drew me into Starfield more than anything else, not the missions or the tech, but the feeling of being small in a galaxy that doesn't really care who you are. I really want to show you this one because it lets you drift through the stars at your own pace, touching down on strange worlds that feel untouched, just waiting for someone to notice them. And when you do, it's not about big cinematic moments, it's the little things, like the way the dust moves when you land, or how the silence changes when you step into an abandoned outpost. The pacing is slow, but in a good way, it lets you breathe. It gives you space to just exist out there. Every new place feels like a quiet invitation to explore, to listen, to pick up pieces of something older than you'll ever understand. And somehow, even when you're far from anything familiar, there's this calmness to it all, like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, even if you don't know why yet.
We are not stopping. Whatever lies at the end of this road will change humanity forever.
Here's something quietly magical I've been spending time with lately, and honestly, it surprised me how deeply it pulled me in. Hogwarts Legacy takes that childhood wonder, the dream of walking through the halls of a living, breathing, wizarding world, and lets you actually live it. But what makes it special isn't just the spells or flying on a broom. It's the quiet beauty in the way the castle creaks at night, how the seasons slowly change, or how it feels to wander through a forest that somehow knows you're there. The world isn't just big, it's rich with tiny moments that feel personal, like you've carved out your own place in it. The pacing is slow in the best way, letting you take it all in at your own rhythm, exploring ancient ruins, solving little mysteries, getting lost in side paths just because they looked interesting. It feels more like you're living inside a story than playing through a game. And while there's plenty of action and adventure, what I keep thinking about are the quiet walks back to your dorm under starlight, or the cozy charm of Hogsmeade on a foggy morning. If you're into calm exploration with a bit of that nostalgic magic, this one's definitely worth wandering through. There's something quietly beautiful about wandering through a city that feels like it remembers everything, the footsteps, the whispers, the lives that came before. That's the feeling I kept coming back to while exploring Assassin's Creed Mirage. I really want to show you this one because it doesn't try to overwhelm you with size or spectacle, it just pulls you into its rhythm, gently and deliberately. The streets are close and full of life, the rooftops are quiet and wide open, and every alley feels like it might lead to something unexpected. The pacing is slower, more focused, and honestly, that made it easier to appreciate the details, the way fabric moves in the breeze, the way the sun leans across stone walls, the way the city sounds different depending on where you're standing. It brings back that older feeling of slipping through crowds, listening closely, waiting for just the right moment to move. And somehow, in all the sneaking and climbing and quiet decision-making, you start to feel like you belong there. Not just as someone passing through, but as someone shaped by the space around you. It's subtle, it's grounded, and it's worth taking your time with. There's this other world I've been getting lost in lately, one that glows with neon light and hums with the sound of a restless city that never really sleeps. Cyberpunk 2077 is something else entirely. It's not just about futuristic tech or fast bikes or chrome-plated style. It's about the feeling of walking through a place that's full of stories, even in the smallest corners. You might step into a quiet alley and hear a guitar playing somewhere above, or catch a stranger's conversation on a train that makes you pause for a second. There's a rhythm to it all that feels deeply human, even in the middle of all the machines and wires. What really caught me off guard was how personal the journey starts to feel once you slow down a bit, like when you're just sitting in an apartment looking out over the city lights or cruising through the desert while the sun sets behind those scattered wind turbines. And yeah, there's action and big choices and all of that, but what stuck with me were the little things, the flicker of a broken street lamp, the hum of a vending machine, the way people move through their day like the world's carrying on with or without you. It's strange how a game set so far in the future can make you think about where you are right now. There's a certain kind of silence you only find in wide open places, when the wind moves through the trees just right, and the road ahead feels like it was waiting for you to arrive. I really want to show you this next one because Dragon's Dogma 2 captures that quiet, grounded feeling of adventure in a way that's hard to describe until you're in it. It's not about racing through the world or chasing markers on a map, it's more about what happens along the way. You might take a path thinking it'll lead somewhere simple, and suddenly you're caught in a downpour, fighting off creatures that seem to come out of the earth itself, with your pawns at your side shouting advice that somehow always feels just human enough. The world doesn't hold your hand, but it never pushes you too hard either. It lets you discover things on your own, like the curve of a cliff that overlooks something ancient, or a tiny village tucked away that you only find by accident. And the way it handles movement and combat feels heavy in a good way. Like every swing of the sword has weight, every climb over a crumbling ledge matters. It's the kind of world you don't rush through. You live in it slowly, one step at a time. There's something kind of magical about looking up at an alien sky and feeling like, just for a moment, you're standing somewhere completely untouched, like the world never knew humans existed. I really want to show you this next one because Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora gives you that exact feeling. It's less about missions and markers and more about immersion, just letting yourself sink into the wild beauty of Pandora. The way the forest moves when you pass through it, how the light filters through those glowing leaves at dusk, even the creatures you pass that seem to acknowledge your presence with a kind of silent curiosity, it all builds this quiet living rhythm that's easy to get lost in. The world feels alive in a way that's peaceful, even when it's dangerous. And flying. When you finally get to soar over cliffs and waterfalls, gliding through clouds on the back of a banshee, there's something so calming about it. You're not rushing, you're just drifting, like the wind's carrying you where you're meant to be. Everything around you feels handcrafted with care, like the devs wanted you to pause, breathe, and just be in this place for a while. And somehow, even with all the vibrant colors and alien designs, it still manages to feel grounded and familiar, like you've been there in a dream before. There's something quietly haunting about walking through a place that feels like it remembers everything, like the air itself is holding on to the past. STA-like 2. Heart of Chernobyl really leans into that feeling. It's not just post-apocalyptic for the sake of mood, it's more intimate than that. I really want to show you this one because it's got this slow, eerie beauty to it. You're moving through abandoned villages and radioactive forests, and everything feels so still, like the world is holding its breath. But it's not empty. It's layered. Every broken wall, every weird anomaly, every distant echo, it all tells you something without saying a word. The way the weather shifts, how you catch strange movements just outside your line of sight, even the silence. It builds this sense of tension that's almost peaceful in a weird way. And the survival mechanics, they don't rush you. You're just out there, scavenging, exploring, trying to stay alive, and it's all wrapped in this quiet rhythm that feels deeply human. It's the kind of game where the loneliness becomes part of the journey, and somehow that makes it all the more powerful.
Where's the money?
Up your ass.
Hey, Val! Put a slug in him.
Hold on, I remember now.
Well?
Up Valve's ass.
Shit! Hello there!
There's something quietly powerful about riding through an open stretch of land, just as the sun starts to rise over the hills, with nothing but your horse's footsteps and the wind in the grass to keep you company. Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't just about the Wild West, it's about slowing down, soaking in every moment, and feeling like the world around you is alive in ways most games never quite capture. I really want to show you this one because there's a kind of peace in how it unfolds. Whether you're sitting by a fire at night listening to someone hum a tune or just watching birds scatter from the trees as a storm rolls in, it all feels so personal, like the world is gently reacting to you. The little details are what make it shine: mud sticking to your boots after a rainy ride, your horse responding to how you treat it, people in town remembering what you did last time you passed through. And the way the story flows, it doesn't just push you forward, it lets you live in the quiet spaces in between, those pauses where you can just exist and breathe and wander. It's the kind of experience that doesn't rush you. It just invites you in and lets you decide what kind of journey you want to take. You might already know this one, but it still deserves to be talked about because somehow, no matter how many years pass, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt keeps finding new ways to surprise you. There's something quietly beautiful about the way it pulls you into its world, not just with the landscapes or monsters, but with the lives of the people you meet along the way. Every village feels like it has a history, every side quest carries its own weight, and even the smallest decisions seem to ripple out in ways you don't expect. The way Geralt moves through it all with that calm, weary focus is part of what makes it feel different from other RPGs. You're not just chasing the next objective, you're listening, learning, sometimes just sitting with a moment. Whether you're riding under a blood-red sky or following a thread through an old forgotten ruin, the game has this gentle way of reminding you that the world isn't just something to conquer, it's something to understand. And I think that's why it stays with so many of us long after we put the controller down.
When nearby villages or guards want to dispose of dead bodies, they usually dump them in the swamp.
There's something about this next one that feels almost meditative-like. You're not just playing a game, but stepping quietly into another time, another way of life. Ghost of Tsushima wraps you in this peaceful, haunting beauty that's hard to explain until you felt it for yourself. You're riding across windswept fields, watching leaves fall like soft rain, hearing nothing but the sound of your horse's hooves and the wind pulling at your clothes. It's not just about sword fights or stealth, though those feel incredible, smooth, and deeply satisfying. It's more about the stillness between the moments. The way the world speaks through colors and weather and silence. Even the way you follow the wind instead of a glowing marker somehow makes it feel more real. You start to move slower, notice more, breathe with the rhythm of the island. And somewhere in all of that, you stop thinking about objectives or trophies and just let the story carry you like a stream. It's quietly powerful in a way few games ever try to be, and that's why I always find myself coming back to it.
I'm losing him!
There's this other gem I've been playing lately that somehow makes the world feel bigger and more alive every time you return to it. Tears of the Kingdom isn't just a sequel, it feels like a quiet expansion of imagination itself. It takes everything that made its world feel free and alive, and then stretches that freedom up into the skies and deep into the earth, like the world is slowly unfolding right beneath your feet. What makes it so special isn't just the scale or the mechanics, it's those little surprises that gently pull you off course. Maybe you follow a strange shape in the clouds, or hear a soft melody echoing from somewhere you didn't expect, and suddenly you're off building, climbing, gliding, and experimenting with tools you didn't even know you had. The pacing is all your own, you're never rushed, never told what to do. You can build the weirdest contraption or quietly sit by a lake at sunset, and that sense of playful creativity, it never stops growing. It's the kind of game that feels like it's quietly watching how you think and gently rewarding your curiosity over and over. It just feels peaceful, thoughtful, and honestly kind of magical in the calmest way. Here's something different, something that's been around for a while, but still feels just as alive as the day it launched. Grand Theft Auto V isn't just a big open-world game. It's a place that feels strangely familiar, even if you've never set foot in Los Santos before. There's something quietly mesmerizing about driving through its winding roads at dusk, with the city lights flickering on in the distance and the radio playing something soft in the background. The world breathes with personality, random conversations, small details in the environment, little moments that feel like they weren't designed, just discovered. And it's not just about chaos or missions or the action everyone talks about, it's those quiet in-between moments that really stick with you. Just walking down the sidewalk and watching how the world moves around you, or catching a view from a mountaintop at sunrise, it's weirdly peaceful. It's one of those games you can return to again and again, not just to play, but to exist in for a while. Whether you're exploring the desert, cruising through city streets, or just people watching on the boardwalk, it somehow captures that feeling of stepping into a world that doesn't need you but still welcomes you back like you never left. There's this other one I've been playing lately that surprised me more than I expected, Far Cry 6. It drops you into a place that feels so vivid and wild that you almost forget you're playing a game at all. The world of Yara is lush and unpredictable, with dusty backroads, hidden trails through the jungle, and wide stretches of coastline where the sunlight catches on the water just right. What really pulled me in wasn't just the big set pieces or the loud moments, it was the little things like stumbling on a quiet fishing village at golden hour or riding a horse through the hills while the sky slowly shifts to night. The game gives you so many ways to explore, and there's a kind of loose freedom to it that lets you go off on your own path and just see what you find. Even the smallest details, like the sound of wind moving through the trees or the way animals move through the brush, add this layer of quiet immersion that feels really special. It's the kind of place where you can spend hours without really planning to, just getting lost in the rhythm of the world. There's action when you want it, sure, but it's also a world that feels full of stories waiting to be uncovered at your own pace.
Guess this could be useful.
There's something really unexpected I want to share with you. Dying Light 2. Stay Human has this strange beauty to it, tucked behind all the chaos and decay. It's easy to think it's just about surviving in a broken world, but when you actually step into the city, there's this raw, quiet energy that keeps pulling you deeper. Climbing rooftops as the sun sets, leaping from ledges while the wind brushes past, it all feels surprisingly peaceful at times, even though danger is never far off. What makes it special isn't just the parkour or the combat, it's how alive everything feels. You're constantly weaving through tight alleys and wide open rooftops, hearing distant echoes, spotting flickers of movement in the shadows, and feeling the tension shift with the time of day. At night, it gets more intense, but also kind of beautiful in a haunting way. The moonlight hitting broken windows, the empty streets stretching out in silence. There's a real sense of weight in your choices too. Not in a dramatic way, but in how the city slowly reacts to the things you do. It's the kind of place that grows on you, piece by piece, moment by moment, until you find yourself completely immersed in it, not just surviving, but feeling like you're part of something bigger, even if it's falling apart.
Let's go.
Those power gliders? It used to be a Night Runner's favorite toy.
You a night runner?
Me? Night Runner? I wish.
Here's something a little different I think you'll really enjoy. Biomutant is one of those strange, gentle surprises that quietly sticks with you. At first glance, it might just look like a quirky, post-apocalyptic action game with fuzzy creatures and martial arts. But spend a little time in its world, and you start to feel how much care went into crafting something oddly peaceful and personal. You wander through these colorful, broken landscapes where nature has started to take everything back, bright fields full of swaying grass, rusted-out machines being slowly swallowed by the earth, strange creatures roaming through the quiet. There's a calm to it all, even when you're mid-fight or gliding through the air on some weird invention. The world has this mix of sadness and wonder. You can feel the weight of what came before, but also this gentle hope running underneath it all. And because your character is completely your own, everything you do, every path you choose, feels personal, like you're writing your own odd little story in a place that's trying to heal. It's not about perfection or polish. It's about exploring a strange, broken world that still feels alive in its own quiet way. And if you slow down and let yourself sink into it, there's something kind of beautiful waiting to be found. There's this other gem I've been playing that feels more like a quiet dream than a game. No Man's Sky is something you don't just play, you kind of drift into it. Imagine waking up alone on a glowing planet with two suns in the sky, weird plants swaying in the wind, and strange creatures wandering by like they've never seen you before. You're just there. And from that moment on, it's all up to you. You can repair your ship, leave the atmosphere, and point it at any star you see and then actually go there. It's peaceful in a way that's hard to describe. Sometimes you land on an empty moon just to listen to the silence. Other times, you're cataloging alien life forms or watching the colors of a new sky fade into night. Everything feels handcrafted by the universe itself. Even though it's all procedurally generated, it still feels personal, like you've discovered something no one else has. The beauty of it isn't in explosions or missions, it's in those small moments when you realize how big the world is and how tiny and free you feel floating inside it. It's a slow, gentle kind of game that gives back what you put into it, and if you let yourself get lost for a while, it can feel like the quietest kind of adventure. There's this other gem I've been playing that really caught me off guard, Greedfall. It's the kind of world that pulls you in slowly, like stepping off a ship into a place that's both beautiful and broken, full of promise, but tangled in old power. You play as a diplomat of sorts, trying to navigate between warring factions, ancient traditions, and some very strange magic that seems to pulse just beneath the surface of everything. What stood out to me wasn't just the combat or quests, it was the way the island feels alive, like the land itself remembers things. You walk through thick forests that feel untouched, with ruins peeking out from the trees, and characters who don't just exist to give you missions. They have histories, grudges, hopes. It's not flashy or overdone. The storytelling feels personal, the choices feel heavy in a quiet way. And even just walking through a village at sunset, watching the torches light up the streets, there's this strong, bittersweet atmosphere that lingers. If you like stories that give you space to think and worlds that slowly open up the more you pay attention, Greedfall is something really special to sink into. Here's something a little different I've been spending time with: Immortals Phoenix Rising. At first glance, it might look like a colorful, light-hearted spin on Greek mythology, but once you step into its world, it surprises you with just how much heart it has. There's a quiet comfort in exploring this place, where the skies are always just a bit too blue, and the landscapes feel like they've been painted by hand, lush, glowing, full of mystery. What makes it really stick, though, is how playful it feels without ever losing that sense of adventure. You're gliding across mountains, solving old godly puzzles tucked into temples, and getting into fights that feel more fun than stressful. The humor isn't forced, it's warm, even charming. And the whole thing carries this energy that doesn't take itself too seriously, but still gives you a journey worth caring about. There's something peaceful about the way it blends myth and freedom, and I found myself smiling more than I expected, just wandering and discovering little surprises tucked away in corners. If you ever wanted a game that feels like a myth retold through the lens of a dream, Immortals Phoenix Rising is worth sinking into for a while. There's this other gem I've been spending time with lately, and it quietly pulled me in deeper than I expected: Mafia, Definitive Edition. From the very first drive through the rain-slick streets of Lost Heaven, there's this strong, moody atmosphere that wraps around you, like stepping into an old noir film you somehow remember even if you've never seen it. What really makes it special isn't just the crime story or the gunfights, it's the way the whole world feels, hand-built to slow you down and make you notice the details. The clack of footsteps on stone, the distant sound of a passing train, the way the light hits an alley at dusk. It's all so carefully tuned, like someone really cared about making it feel real. And the pacing, it's gentle in a way most games don't allow themselves to be anymore. You're not rushing from marker to marker. You're soaking in a time and place, hearing characters talk in hushed tones over cigarettes, driving through quiet streets at night, just existing in that space. It's not a sandbox full of distractions, it's a living, breathing story that lets you breathe with it. If you've ever wanted to feel like you were inside a classic, slow-burn gangster film, Mafia, Definitive Edition gives you a moment to step into that world and just feel it, one quiet scene at a time.
West Harbor Bridge, cabby, fast! The bridge is up, ain't it? West Harbor Bridge, cabby, fast!
Alright, I think that's where we'll leave it for now. Just a quiet little walk through some of the 20 best open world games to play in 2025, and honestly, I really enjoyed talking through them with you. If any of these stood out to you, or if there's one you've been playing lately that's been sitting with you, feel free to share it down below. No pressure, of course, just if you feel like chatting. And hey, if you're into this kind of calm gaming talk, you're more than welcome to stick around. But either way, I really appreciate you spending a bit of your time here with me. Take care out there, and I'll see you again sometime soon.